This is Cairo, before Cairo existed. A Roman fortress on the Nile, a city of tents, then a medieval megacity that almost vanished. In this AI reconstruction, we'll time travel from 300 AD to 1100 AD, and you'll see exactly how old Cairo was built layer by layer. Watch for three things in every era: the Nile, the supply highway, the fortress, the anchor, and the markets, the engine. Because once those three lock together, a capital is inevitable. 300 AD, Roman Egypt. Before there is Cairo, this bend of the Nile is about control. The empire doesn't survive on monuments. It survives on supply lines. Grain, tools, taxes, manpower, all of it moves on the Nile River, the most important highway in North Africa. And right here stands the anchor, Babylon Fortress, a late antique Roman stronghold built to secure movement and protect administration. Stone and brick, towers, gates, and the quiet logic of imperial engineering. Look around the walls. The city isn't big yet, but it's already forming. A dock hugs the riverbank. Warehouses sit close to the water because time is money even in antiquity. You can imagine the sounds: ropes tightening, clay jars tapping together, a cartwheel cutting into dust. This is what power looks like in Roman Egypt. Not a skyline, a checkpoint. And the reason this matters is simple. A fortress like this attracts people. Workers follow wages. Traders follow safety. Families follow routine. The first real urban growth here isn't glamorous, it's practical. Keep your eye on one thing: the fortress won't disappear. As rulers change, it becomes the one piece of the landscape that never stops shaping the city. 450 AD, late antiquity. The fortress still stands, but the world around it thickens. Egypt is now deeply late Roman and increasingly Christian, and urban life becomes more layered. Outside Babylon's walls, scattered buildings turn into real neighborhoods. Mud brick homes, narrow lanes, and courtyards built for shade and routine. This is where reconstruction becomes interesting, because growth is not one big upgrade. It's thousands of small decisions. A family adds a room, a workshop expands, a street becomes a market corner. Water carriers carve paths that become roads. The city forms like sediment, slowly, then all at once. And you start seeing the Coptic Christian presence, modest sacred spaces, community courtyards, and a rhythm of life tied to both river trade and local identity. Not fantasy cathedrals, real, compact buildings and local materials woven into everyday streets. The Nile is still the engine. Boats bring goods. People move them inland. Someone counts and records. Someone repairs a boat. Someone fires pottery. Someone weaves linen. This is the moment old Cairo becomes more than a fort with a village attached. It becomes a living district. But here's the hook. In the next jump, the pace changes. A new political reality arrives, and a new city is born almost overnight, right beside the old stone anchor. Now the turning point. Around 640 to 642 AD, the Muslim conquest of Egypt. The map of power changes fast, and the story stops being fortress and suburb and becomes capital and empire. Near Babylon Fortress, a new settlement appears, Fustat, often remembered as the city of tents, and it becomes the first Islamic capital of Egypt. This is where a lot of reconstructions get the vibe wrong. Fustat doesn't instantly look like a mature medieval metropolis. Early on, it's transitional. Temporary structures becoming permanent, streets forming in real time, storage areas expanding near the river, and new administrative routines taking shape. Watch the riverfront in your visuals. It should look busier than before. More cargo, more counting, more negotiation. The Nile is now feeding a capital, not just a garrison district. And a new civic heartbeat emerges. The Mosque of Amr ibn al-As begins to define space and rhythm. Early mosques are simpler than later centuries. Fewer monumental cues, more functional gathering space. But the social impact is enormous. The city starts organizing around worship, markets, and governance. This era should feel like momentum, people arriving, building quickly, establishing order. Because once you have a river highway plus a permanent anchor plus a growing marketplace, the city doesn't just exist, it expands. And the next era proves it. Fustat stops being an arrival and becomes a machine. 700 AD. Fustat is now a working capital city, not a camp. In a real early Islamic urban center, the most important architecture isn't always the biggest building. It's the system, markets, workshops, storage, streets, and the constant flow of goods. This is the era where the city becomes visually recognizable. Dense neighborhoods, narrow shaded alleys, and marketplaces that feel permanent. The suck grows into a web of stalls, textiles, pottery, food, metalwork, woodwork. Everything a city needs to feed itself and trade outward. Administrative life gets routine. You can show this without being boring. A scribe counting goods, guards at a gate, a porter moving sacks, a vendor arguing over price. These small scenes are what make an AI reconstruction feel like a documentary. Babylon Fortress is still here, still visible, but it's no longer the center of attention. It becomes a landmark within a larger organism. This is key for retention. Viewers can track the old anchor while watching the new city dominate. And here's the stakes. The more Fustat grows, the more it attracts wealth, people, and rivals. In the next era, you'll feel the city at full complexity, a medieval economy in motion. 900 AD. This is where Fustat should look and sound like a powerhouse. Rooftops stack into a dense texture. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Boat arrive constantly. Baraújas fili. Markets spill into streets. This is not a quiet place. It's a trade hub built on Nile logistics. To keep this historically grounded, the city's strength is movement. Goods come in by river, grain, ceramics, textiles, spices. They're unloaded, counted, taxed, stored, and redistributed through the city. Workshops turn raw materials into value. Dyed cloth, hammered copper, carved wood, baked bread. Your visuals should show that loop again and again. It's the simplest way to make the audience feel this city is real. And nearby, power experiments with new administrative zones and districts. Not because Fustat fails, but because governments always want controlled space. This adds a subtle tension. Fustat is rich and crowded, yet politics can drift. So this era should feel like density plus wealth plus organization plus constant labor. If viewers see that, they understand why Cairo will later rise, because the region is already an urban machine. It just needs a new political shell, which leads to the next reveal. The name Cairo finally becomes unavoidable. By 1100 AD, the story is no longer one city. It's a relationship between two. In 969, the Fatimids founded Cairo to the north, initially as a royal and administrative center. Fustat remains the economic powerhouse near the river, but prestige and power begin pulling north. This is how cities evolve in real history, not by replacing everything overnight, but by creating layers. Fustat still produces, trades, and moves goods. It still has markets that feel endless. It still has neighborhoods that never stop repairing themselves. But now, in the distance, you can hint at a different kind of skyline. Newer institutions, new authority, new gravity. Visually, this era should feel mature. More permanent materials on major structures, richer textures, and that powerful image of continuity. Babylon Fortress, ancient and Roman, now swallowed inside a medieval world it never predicted. And the stakes turn dark. Fustat is valuable enough to become a target. And in 1168, it's famously burned in a desperate act of strategy. That's beyond our last year here, but it changes how viewers see the city. This wasn't a forgotten prelude to Cairo. This was a metropolis that mattered so much that its destruction became an event. So when you look 1100, you're watching a climax. The Nile Highway, the fortress anchor, and the market engine, all still beating, right before the next chapter rewrites the map. So that's the birth of Cairo, built from a Roman fortress, powered by the Nile, and transformed into the first Islamic capital of Egypt, Fustat. If you want more AI reconstructions, Alexandria, Thebes, or medieval Baghdad-style Cairo, subscribe and tell me the next city and the timeline. Full era-by-era breakdown, sources, and behind-the-scenes workflow are in the description.